Greetings. It's Monday, January the 20th, 2025, Inauguration Day in the United States for a new presidential administration. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and this is the Monday Morning Report. Well, today is here. In fewer than 6 hours, the evil, corrupt, reeking administration presided over by Joe Biden will be relegated to the ash heap of history. Not a moment too soon. We have a few hours left to go, and everyone's hopeful. It's still possible this rather evil man and those who control him could still pull some sort of strange pardons or some sort of action, but that's not really likely, at least now. I think they know they've been defeated, or at least for the time being defeated. Evil doesn't exactly vanish. It just crawls back into its hole and waits for another chance to rear its very ugly head. In other news, briefly, there still seems to be some wildfires here and there in Southern California, and they're busy talking about looting and punishing people and all sorts of wonderful things needed in that very dysfunctional part of the world. Israel got back some of its hostages in exchange for some Palestinians, and they're going to start killing each other again soon enough. You watch and see. Hopefully they'll be doing so without American taxpayers paying for it. Oh, and the Equal Rights Amendment is still defeated. It was defeated decades ago. There is no 28th Amendment to the Constitution. Mr. Biden did not have the power to arbitrarily amend the U.S. Constitution. An important lesson for those who failed civics class back in the day, if they still even teach civics class. One doesn't know much about what goes on in schools these days. But the big thing today is going to be how many executive orders incoming President Trump is going to sign, hopefully immediately after taking his oath. Anywhere from 50 to 200, I keep hearing those numbers, but it's going to be an interesting day for sure. By the end of it, you'll probably see the U.S. military called up to defend the border, enemy combatants, probably criminal gangs in this country will be considered domestic terrorists and will be treated accordingly. Perhaps raids in cities. That the securing of the border is the first step of any government. Transgenderism is going to be pretty much eradicated from professional sports. We're going to pull out of all these crazy international climate agreements. The U.S. is going to start becoming energy independent. There's a lot of stuff that it'll be there. And the January 6 protesters who've been rotting in prison for 4 years, most, if not all of them, will be freed. And look for some pretty horrifying tales to be told in that department. It's going to be a very interesting day. Now, I was supposed to be down in Washington, D.C. today. That was the plan. I was going to be there with some people, and I was going to do some recording and all sorts of fun things. Unfortunately, we had a pretty good-sized snowstorm where I'm at. I'm a little bit snowed in. And everybody I was supposed to meet up with decided to cancel as well. Some people were going to be flying in from around the country, and they decided not to show up. I don't mind real cold weather, but traveling by myself all the way down to D.C. in snow-covered roads that are probably not fully plowed, just so I can take the metro in and hang out in very cold weather surrounded by left-wing protesters watching Trump on a closed-circuit television didn't really seem like a good idea, so I'm going to be sitting back and watching the event with a nice cup of hot chocolate. A lot of damage has been done. There is a class of American out there that thinks now that Trump's coming into power, everything's going to be good again immediately. Yes, gasoline prices are going to go down, I'm sure, and there's a lot of other things that's going to happen. The Keystone Pipeline, in spite of what a lot of people are saying, it's not going to be possible to recover that project. I was doing some research on it. It would have been very good for the environment to have oil going through a nice clean pipeline as opposed to being stuck on trains and put into tanker trucks on the highways. But my understanding is the company that was pushing all that has sold off a lot of the land involved. The equipment's not there anymore. The contractors aren't there. It would probably be impossible to revive that project. Sad, but that's the way it is. The U.S. has been driven into such debt. There's hundreds of billions of dollars that have gone missing that went to Ukraine. Nobody believes, who has any sense of intelligence, that all that money went to help Ukraine. That money has been laundered. It's probably in the back pockets of many of the same politicians that voted for it. It's going to take some doing to recover that. The FBI would be ideal. Originally, the FBI didn't fight criminals with guns. They originally fought them with pencils and accounting procedures. So that might be a nice little proper assignment for that very tainted federal agency. All this aside, the process of rebuilding the United States physically and also morally and politically and militarily is going to take a lot of time and work. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be quick. But there is one thing I hope the incoming president takes to heart, and I hope everyone in that administration also takes this bit of advice. Show no mercy. For the past 4 years, and to an extent over the last several decades, the ultra-left-wing, liberal, Marxist, communist, treasonous establishment has caused so much pain and so much agony and so much suffering, and to a great extent death, to the people of the United States. They need to pay. They need to be punished. Not by a mob, but by the legal system. They need to be held to account. This is not a time to forgive enemies. It's a time to eliminate their ability to ever cause harm again. A few weeks ago, I likened what's going to be coming down to what happened to Julius Caesar. He forgave his enemies, and he paid for it with his life. Rome paid for it. There's a rather silly American custom. Don't ever kick a man when they're down. Well, in the Far East, they teach martial arts. They point out something very obvious. That's exactly the time to kick them. That's exactly the time to finish them off, because they're going to get up again and they're going to come after you. These are people that we can't reform. We're not going to educate them. They're not going to suddenly say, oh, we were so wrong. Now, no one's talking about retribution of, hanging people from trees or setting them on fire or anything barbaric like that. But get them where it counts in their pocketbook. Audit them. The Biden crime family is by far the most corrupt that has ever occupied the White House. They should be pursued ruthlessly. All the people that profited horribly off of the COVID disaster, while causing the agony of tens of millions, 100 million Americans, lost their jobs, lost their families, in many cases lost their lives. No one's talked too much about all the suicides that occurred during COVID, of people that lost their life's work and had no way to survive. One of the greatest errors people make is that when they win, they become magnanimous. This is not the time for that, because they will come back. They're not defeated. The deep state, the people that perpetrate clown world, the people who endorsed and promoted and paid for the mutilation of children's genitals to change their sex. These people are going to be allowed to get away with it? You're talking about crimes against humanity that would have made the nastiest medical experimenters in World War II Europe. Cringe. Granted, we're probably not going to see men and women's sports anymore after today. That'll probably be an executive order as well. But so much damage has been done. We're not talking about retribution so much. We're talking about justice. We're talking about holding people to account and to make an example of them so that it will never, ever, ever, ever happen again. If there's ever a time to use the term never again, it's today. The insanity must be eradicated from American society. Too many people have suffered, and too many people are crying out from their graves for justice. Mr. Trump, show no mercy. Put these people where they belong, in prison, or at least disarm them so that they can no longer function in political or social life. Let them go off and work for a living. Let them go off and tend gardens or work in supermarkets or do something useful. They have no place in government. They have no place amongst decent people. And good luck. We're all going to need it. That's it for today. If you appreciate my work, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and especially today, share with your enemies. I can be reached at feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's feedback@aureliancolumn.com. I'm up on X. My handle there is MICCAMPEN. That's MICCAMPEN. I'm on a few other social media platforms, of course, not and never again Facebook. This podcast originates at Substack. The address there is aureliancolumn.substack.com, and you can reach me there with direct messaging. Until we meet again, be good, be safe, be vigilant, and remember Clown World and the Deep State must be destroyed, and from today it looks like there's a better chance of that happening than there has been in a long time. Good day.